Hi, welcome to another great episode of Ayurveda for all seasons. I am here with Anu Gupta, and I'm so excited to share her wisdom with us today and her experience helping and supporting the LGBTQ community. So, in honor of Pride Month, Ayurveda for all seasons is bringing you this very special and meaningful episode as we celebrate Pride Month. So without further ado, welcome Anu Gupta to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Happy Pride.
Yes, yes, yes. And so let me share with everybody a little bit about you before we get started today with the session. So Anu is a NAMA board certified Ayurvedic practitioner and Ayurvedic doctor in training with her own practice, Ayurvedic Footprints. She's a content specialist writer for Art of Living and Kerala Academy. She's also an engineer. She has her MBA, and she's a 200-hour certified yoga certified meditator, and also a board member of P Flag Danville, San Raymond Valley. So she has represented the Human Rights Commission at the U.S. Senate for the Equality Act and volunteers for many LGBTQ community and organizations. She is the mom of 2 beautiful kids, is a fierce mama bear advocate whose vision is a stress-free, violence-free, and inclusive society for all. So welcome, Anu. We're so happy for you to be here and talking to us about this very relevant topic today. And so I'd love to just open up and, talk to you about or ask you about an Ayurvedic concept called Vasudev Kutumbhakam. Can you tell us about this, and why does this Ayurvedic concept tie into Pride Month?
Absolutely. In fact, this is a concept, a Vedic concept that ties into Pride Month across the board. In fact, it's used in the Indian Constitution where Ayurveda originated from. India, it is used in so many contexts to be inclusive about everybody, about nature, about birds, about plants, about animals, about the 5 elements, and within the human experience to be inclusive and loving, whether it be anybody from any gender or any race or any ethnicity. Basically, we say that we are one world consciousness, one precious consciousness. It's the same light in everybody. And so what does that mean for us in Ayurveda? This is a quote from the Upanishads. What it means for us is that we treat everybody with equal respect and honor.
Love that. Love that. Yes. And I think it really does tie into this unity for all, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. So what is the Ayurvedic approach to the LGBTQ community and the issues and concerns that they have? What's the Ayurvedic approach to that?
Absolutely. So, basically, Ayurveda has always been very inclusive, whether it be anybody from any race, ethnicity, any gender. Traditionally, in Vedic times, we honored the Tritiya Prakriti or transgender folks. We had so many depictions of, even now you'll see in the temples of, lesbians and gay folks. And so transgender folks in our epics, in Ramayana, in Mahabharata, there are transgender folks, then there are gods that were birthed through the union of 2 men or through the union of 2 women, sages that were birthed thus. And there has been no discrimination traditionally. So then one might ask, where did the discrimination creep in? It was in 1861 that we were a British colony. The British actually imposed a law that criminalized LGBTQ relationships. So then, there was a history of colonization, there was a history of discrimination, but this is true worldwide. Now, 100 years back, when women were fighting for the rights to vote, and there was segregation in America. We see today that the LGBTQ community is facing the same kind of oppression, similar kind of laws, homophobia. There are 300 plus laws that conservatives have introduced against LGBTQ rights. How does this impact Ayurveda? Ayurveda is holistic. It addresses mind, body, spirit. Now, in traditional healthcare, there aren't supposed to be discriminations, but there were during the Trump regime. And so, and now there are a lot of discriminations that have crept in practice. So one is the law, then there's the practice. There are laws also that are, there are attempts to enact laws which call out families like mine, pedophiles and groomers, and say, we talk about not saying gay. They also try and blur the lines between gender orientation, gender expression, and sexual, orientations. Gender, basically, what gender do you identify with? It may be different from the gender that is assigned at birth, right? So that is where transgender, non-binary people come in. So there's a whole lot of misconceptions that are fed to people, right? So Ayurveda can help, because when we work with anybody holistically, we basically want to know where they are at. We want to know what is their gender identity, what is their gender expression, non-judgmentally. Honor them, hold that space, and what is their sexual orientation. So it's very important that, a lot of people are discriminated against in regular healthcare. We should be able to the alternative medicine space in the US, and it is actually mainstream medicine in India. We should be able to provide care for people that face this kind of discrimination. People are raped in such settings. People are denied care. It is harder for them to access prescription medication. It is harder for them to access care in the case of, let's say, HIV or STD, which is not just, HIV is not just an LGBTQ issue. HIV happens to other folks also, but then it just gets so homophobic. So there's this whole homophobia that creeps in there. If we can, cut through that homophobia with education, awareness, and with being inclusive, it would make a huge difference. There's so many layers here. So sometimes I don't even know where to begin. And that's why, I and my friend, we, on behalf of Kerala Ayurveda, we spoke to so many of we spoke to the National Ayurvedic Medical Board, and I'm now on their DEI committee. We spoke to, the Texas board, we spoke to the California board, and we tried to get statements. We're trying to get everybody to, enact either, basically give a policy statement that they're inclusive. So we're trying to make attempts to make the space inclusive.
What about the mental health aspect? Because this community does suffer from a lot of mental health. And I don't know now with, that rising in general in all populations in this country and abroad, do we see that particular, impacting this community as well in a higher amount? And how does Ayurveda, yes, what can we do with Ayurveda to address that?
Yes, so absolutely. Let's talk about the mental health first, then the Ayurvedic approach. So as far as mental health goes, so being LGBTQ is not a mental health issue. I have to say that it's not a lifestyle issue. It's, not a choice. It's, but because they are excluded now, 89% of students that are LGBTQ say that they are harassed or attacked in school, or they are, sexually harassed, they are abused, they are dead named, misgendered. So that leads to more mental health issues. Then, a lot of them are rendered homeless. They are not accepted by society. We were recently at the vigil of a child my son's, friend who died by suicide because they were LGBTQ. And it's really hard. In the time we will talk in half an hour, 40 LGBTQ kids will attempt suicide. And some of them will do so successfully. This is the second leading cause of death in this category. And why do they do that? Because they're excluded, because some are thrown out of home. As a result, what happens is that depression, suicidal ideation increases, substance abuse increases, risky behaviors increase, because if they're homeless, they want to seek home. So they want to seek a home, so they indulge in risky behaviors. Now, some of the statistics are mind-boggling. Then there's the aspect of intersectionality, where, if let's say there is a Black or BIPOC LGBTQ person, especially transgender, right? The life expectancy of a transgender Black or BIPOC woman is not more than 30 to 35 years.
Wow.
Only part of this, it's only part of this is suicides. A lot of this is violence. A lot of people are killed. While, we are being told that we are at risk from trans people, they are at risk from us as a society. We have failed them. And so the mental health issues that arise from your existence being constantly debated in the media, or, everywhere you encounter homophobia, that is absolutely crippling. And we see that, whenever there is a law enacted, like in Florida, the Don't Say Gay bill. I mean, so when the laws are enacted, we see an increase, because we do crisis counseling also. We see an increase in the incidence of suicides. Wow. Kids are dying. Kids are dying because of our intolerance. Kids are dying because of our policies. So how can we help with mental health there Ayurvedically? I have to say that, I talked to my professor, mentor, who is the head of the National Ayurvedic Board, Professor Jayarajan Kodikanath, and he said Ayurveda has always been accepting, inclusive, and honors and affirms and is a safe space for LGBTQ folks, irrespective of their sexual orientation or gender identity.
Yeah, well, so and also, there are a lot of really good remedies too that can be done to help people deal with the stuff, that they might be dealing with, and even meditation and possibly herbs. I don't know, is that something that you recommend, or that have you seen help? I mean, it helps, I know a lot of people have been helped from any type of whatever, mental anxiety, depression, and all of that. So I would imagine that would be a great tool as well.
Yeah, it would be if the space is inclusive. Now let's talk about Shankara Ayurveda. So I would recommend to them that you must state openly, we are an LGBTQ affirming space. My practice does that. A lot of practices, a lot of therapists, a lot of doctors will say, we are LGBTQ affirming, because many LGBTQ folks go to an Ayurvedic space and go to any medical space. First of all, they're denied care. Then they're abused verbally. Some are abused physically. Some are not. Some are dead named. Some are misgendered. So it's a lot of them don't even seek care. A lot of LGBTQ folks will not even go for a dental issue, because they're just so scared. A transgender person is not going to even seek care. So let's start at the very beginning, which is all medical folks, whether alternative or mainstream, should educate themselves about LGBTQ issues. I mean, if you want to know about a woman and her uterus, then please also do find out about LGBTQ folks. Then we'll talk about mental health. Definitely, meditation is going to be huge. We are trying to help people with meditation, but a lot of people don't even want to be outed. They are scared. I mean, especially in the current atmosphere in the US, it is dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous for them to say that they are LGBTQ. I mean, parents are called pedophiles and groomers. In that atmosphere, herbs may help, right? Definitely. I mean, I, being an Ayurvedic practitioner, if somebody comes to me, the very fact that I use my pronouns, and, when I'm in internships, somebody will open up to me much more, because, somebody whose pronouns are she, they will open up to me much more, because they know that in using my pronouns, I am implying that I am open. After that, we can talk about any trauma that they have faced, because a lot of LGBTQ folks face trauma. So then we can talk about Medya Rasayanas, we can talk about meditation, we can talk about, trauma, informed yoga. So we can do all that. But we have to start by educating ourselves and being affirming openly so.
Well, and let's talk about this, issue that you raised about the discrimination that's happening in healthcare practices and clinics and doctors' offices. Can you, because I'm ignorant when it comes to that, what happened? I mean, did a doctor actually just deny care, or what actually happens?
Yes. So doctor can just say that, I'm not going to treat you. The friend I interviewed, Stevie, is a naturopathic doctor in training. And so I sent you my article on LGBTQ representation in the Ayurvedic community. And they told their doctor that they were doing something really responsible. They were, taking HIV preventive medicine. And the doctor got up and walked out. This is very common. Then sometimes people will start yelling. Sometimes people will try something called that is very dangerous and potentially lethal, which is conversion therapy. They'll try and tell a kid, like maybe, imagine a 13-year-old kid goes in to a doctor's office because of suicidal ideation, and they try and tell them, but you're wrong. You're not transgender, or you're not gay, you're not a lesbian. And this has happened. There was a case, I was just reading cases before I talked to you, like kids seeking care, kids that have attempted suicide, and then the doctor does not treat them well, and then they die by suicide. So that happens. Then, prescription medication is denied or delayed. And so insurance companies and, doctors are not supposed to discriminate based on sexual orientation or gender identity, but they do. And that is really so much higher for transgender folks, right? Because in state after state, in 29 states, conversion therapy isn't banned. There's something called the Gay Panic Defense Act, where you can kill somebody who's gay and then plead that, I'm just defending, I just got caught unawares, so I killed them. And so in such a space, we don't even know where to begin. Let's talk about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. So, they said, oh, we don't want kindergartners to know about gay. It's a mature topic. But consider this. If I say that I have a mom and a dad, right? And, I'm like 3 or 4, do I think about sex? No, neither should you. Little children don't automatically think about sex. We are not even talking about, sex education. That will be age appropriate. In 5th grade, we ask parents, and that happens in 5th grade, parents can opt out of, their kids receiving sex education. But it is natural for some kids to have 2 moms. And sometimes the 2 moms are denied, the right to, an IVF or the right to adopt. And sometimes they'll take a kid to a practice, and the kid will be turned away. Imagine, and there are cases, like I was just going through Lambda Legal's website, and they have listed cases where a kid is being turned away from an emergency room because there are 2 moms. And that can be life-threatening. So there's so much homophobia we are dealing with, particularly in conservative states, and the far right. There's a lot of money being poured in with so much hatred. So what can Ayurveda do here? And I cannot tell you enough. If we can just be affirming, we can say we are a safe space, and then we read up, right? For me also, I had to read up about transgender. It's part of my research also. I had to read up, what does it mean? Being transgender does not always mean that you basically seek a surgery, or even that you seek hormone care. It could mean that you cut your hair. It could mean that you wear binders, right? It could mean that you change your name, you change your pronouns. So there are different ways of being transgender. And then very often people have to go through, being with a therapist for a year, go through hormone replacement therapy for hormone therapy for another year before they seek, any kind of surgical intervention if they want. It's up to them. how they want to transition. In that space, how can we as Ayurvedic professionals protect them? So we have a form. So the first thing is, in the form, we don't say male, female, right? So I had to cut that out of my form. You're not just male, female. There's a heteronormative concept we have, which is wrong, right? I studied, when my child came out, I studied what it means to be LGBTQ. And 1 in 100 people, are sometimes 2 in 100 people, are intersex. So it could be a man with breasts. So what do you do? Like, do you shame them? And that used to happen too, right? We would see that happen in spaces like in shows. It could be a woman with a beard, right? So that's the thing, that as a society, when we are heteronormative and cruel, we perpetuate physical and mental health issues. A lot of kids self-harm. I mean, I can't even tell you that, just to make sure. And we are allowed to allow self-harm because that's their only way to cope sometimes. So we tell them, just make sure that you don't end up with an infection. Make sure that you don't do something risky. So, dealing with in crisis counseling spaces is so distressing to see how many kids are falling through the cracks, how many end up just no more amongst us. They don't walk amongst us anymore because we are not setting up a safe space for them. So whether it's in physical health or mental health or spiritual health, we start with saying that, we won't say gay, but we are actually shaming a whole community, and we are attempting erasure, especially the trans community. We're trying to erase them. Like, there are laws being introduced in states where we are saying things like, anybody that is providing gender affirming care, which the Trevor Project, which is the largest suicide prevention, space, actually has established, is it reduces the incidence of suicides drastically. And we are saying that if that care is provided, the doctor will be criminalized, the parents will be criminalized, the kids will be criminalized. So it's mind-boggling, the kind of homophobia we are dealing with currently in the last couple of years in this nation.
Wow. Wow. Yes. And so if somebody wants to take a more proactive approach, what can they do? Like someone who might not have, family members or not be connected firsthand, is there anything that they can do? Volunteer, or even just reading up, I think, is, like you suggested, I think that's a good first step. But is there anything else that you can offer or suggest for people?
Absolutely. And I think the fact that, I told you that let's do this talk and you jumped at it, I loved it. You were affirming of, of pride of the LGBTQ population. So that's a start. Then, you are asking all these questions. People are trying to know more about the lesbian community, about the gay community, about homosexuals, about transgender, asexual. So there are, within the LGBTQ community, just trying to find out, like, who's pansexual, who's bisexual, what does it mean? And, so educating ourselves. For Ayurvedic professionals, it's good to know, like, how can we provide care if somebody's transitioning, how to make sure if somebody has trauma, that's ama in the system, how do we deal with that ama? If somebody has, so like you said, the mental health support, how do we provide that? There is herbal support, there is dietary and lifestyle, there's counseling. So counseling need not be Ayurvedic counseling. I don't think that's a specialization here yet, but definitely some kind of counseling, that they can receive. So educating ourselves, and then there is cleansing, right? So, and then standing against conversion therapy. So I know of Ayurvedic professionals who are also, mainstream medical professionals. That's how I really got into lobbying. They're trying to use Ayurveda for conversion therapy. And when, we clamp down on that, then they go to Vedic astrology, and they say, we'll help with the mental health of people. So, just trying to uncover these devious,
What do you mean? What were they trying to do?
So, yeah, I basically encountered somebody who was a medical professional who in the Ayurvedic space was trying to, was talking a lot against trans folks. And, as a turf, saying that, a woman is not even a woman anymore. And, so basically then, we decided that rather than directly do anything, let's get the whole Ayurvedic space to be affirming. And that's why I and my friend Stevie and then Kerala Ayurveda, we worked on this. And even the NAMA board, we have a DEI committee. We are affirming of all races, ethnicities, and all genders. Then this person is studying Vedic astrology and saying that, I can cure somebody's mental health, somebody who's trans, I can work with their mental health. So conversion therapy need not be a direct approach where it need not, if it's banned in a state, you can still find a way. You can say, oh, through Vedic astrology, I will work with their mental health and cure them of this feeling that they're transgender. You may not say it directly. That's a risk. If you're openly...
So by conversion therapy, you mean talking them out of what they're feeling inside. I am, transgender, or I am, so talking them out of that.
Right. So right. Conversion therapy is a very, a very, very, it's a term that we use in LGBTQ circles, that in crisis counseling, in medical circles, which is banned in many places, in many countries. And it's basically, an attempt to convert to, use religion, use medicine, and there is no medicine, but to use means to, being LGBTQ is not a choice. It's not a lifestyle. It is who the people are. So what trans people say is they've always felt wrong in their body. And, if their sex assigned at birth. And now, very often we use the word transition because they're actually, now taking a step, and many people are not out, but they're taking a step to be themselves. In that, if you try and do something as dangerous as conversion therapy, it can be lethal. It can, cause gender dysphoria. It can aggravate gender dysphoria. It can cause all kinds of mental health issues. Many people commit suicide. People live with trauma through their lives. So what I'm basically saying is that there are people who try and use Vedic sciences without knowing that, Vedic sciences are inherently inclusive. So you cannot use them to attempt conversion therapy. So when this happened, I actually spoke to, there is no group of ethics governing Vedic astrologers, but there is an attempt. So I spoke to the teacher of, this person, and I said, what can be done? And they added me to an ethics group. And, I basically said, look, Vedic sciences are LGBTQ affirming. So Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the founder of Art of Living, actually said that consciousness is non-binary. Consciousness is he, she, they, them. The depiction of consciousness in Sanatan Dharma is Ardh Narishwar, half male, half female. So there's Shiva and there's Shakti, non-binary. Right? There is a lot of acceptance inherently. So then to appropriate and to use Vedic sciences, in an attempt to, further homophobia is just wrong.
Yeah. Can you tell us explain what gender dysphoria or what was gender dysphoria?
Gender dysphoria is when we feel that, there is a great deal of distress. It's a psychiatric term. There is distress when you don't identify with your sex assigned at birth. So a transgender person may or may not experience gender dysphoria. They may just, be like, they may just feel that I don't identify as a male, though that is what was assigned at birth, without distress. They may, feel that without distress, or they may with distress, which is gender dysphoria.
Okay. Wow. And so, are there what other ways, or is there what do you focus on in your practice and in supporting the community, and how else can the LGBTQ community be supported through Ayurveda?
Yeah. So in my practice, I focus on everything. So the first thing is it's a safe space. We have told everybody it's a safe space. So we have seen a few LGBTQ folks. Now, what happens is that when we have an intake, the intake is everything about the person. So that includes, their current complaints, their dinacharya, their ritucharya, their daily, habits. Then we do a Srota specific exam. Everything that we do, we don't directly ask them questions about sexual orientation. We don't, but very often they will tell us their story, and that is a part of their story. That is a part of their journey. So, they will tell us if they are trans, they will tell us if they are non-binary, they will tell us if they're a lesbian. And our job is to hold space for them. Some of them will come with trauma. Now, if they ask us for explicit advice, then we should be able to provide that advice, right? There are some people who are, let's say, they want some advice about anal sex. We should be able to have a protocol for anal sex that is safe, right? We can say, okay, use a lube, but so that what if your partner has HIV, right? So you want to make sure that you're protected. Use a condom, use a lube, so that there's no cracks. Do matravasti, right? So there are so many things. And what I'm doing in my as part of my Ayurvedic doctor research is I'm trying to document these, so that there is standard good practices for Vaidyas, where Vaidyas can work with LGBTQ folks. Unfortunately, in India, there are some cases of conversion therapy where Ayurveda is being used for conversion therapy. It happened in my town. So, just clamping down on those kind of things. In my practice, I would be very open about everything, whether it's about, trauma. That's something we deal with. We deal with mental health. We also deal with, any physical trauma, rape, right? So, and for all of that, I would always involve a medical professional from mainstream medicine or a therapist, because in India, Ayurveda is mainstream medicine. Here it's complementary medicine. So there's a lot we cannot do. We cannot examine somebody physically if somebody's been raped, right? And so many Ayurvedic people, so many LGBTQ people, even in a doctor's office, they'll be inappropriately fondled, or, they'll be abused. So those kind of incidences we have to be open to. In my practice, we are open to everybody. I and Vaidya Mamta, whether it's, somebody who's diabetic or somebody who has, because we don't treat an illness, we are treating the whole, we are managing the whole rogi, the whole person, right? So then everything that comes with the person, their history, whether it's physical, physiological, psychological, spiritual, emotional, everything is, a whole. And then even the suggestions that we give, so they can be shamana, which is pacification through, herbal protocols and formulations, and then, also lifestyle and dietary changes, patya, ahar, vihar, or we go on to, cleansing modalities, panchakarma, and so on. So, and even suggestions on yoga and meditation. So I would say, for any marginalized community, I would say it's very important to meditate, to strengthen yourself, and just know that you're not alone. For other people, there's so many nonprofits. First of all, just for people to know that you're a safe person. I have so many people who have come out to me because I'm a safe person. I started with Free Mom Hugs, which is, a group of moms, and it's a couple of Christian moms who, initially said, there's one, Sarah, who's our founder, she was featured by Forbes, and she basically did not accept her kid initially. And then she became this force to reckon with. Like, she changed the world. She went, groups of moms, and then it started with moms from all faiths and communities. We went out, and then, moms, parents, dads, so we say parents because it can be trans parents, anybody. And we went around hugging kids during Pride. I've been to Pride. People just weep, they cry. There's so much, it's so cathartic for us and for them. And, so there's so many nonprofits that one can be part of. And just at the very beginning, just, When in Vedic spaces, when we say Vasudev Kutumbhakam, we basically say we are one world family.
Beautiful.
This consciousness, yeah, we are all part of that one cosmic vibration.
Oh, I love that. Anu, thank you so much. And so if anyone wants to reach out to you, find out more about your practice, or if anyone needs any support, they can find you at ayurvedicfootprints.com.
Yes.
Yeah, so ayurvedicfootprints.com, and we'll have a link down below as well. So reach out to Anu. You have certainly been a huge, very, very amazing force for this cause. And I'm so happy that we're able to bring light to this and, and share this, especially in celebration of Pride Month. So thank you so much, Anu, for being here and bringing light to this very important topic.
Thank you for having me. Happy Pride, everybody.
Yay, happy Pride. Bye-bye.